Okay, recording in progress indeed. Right, everyone remember where we're up to? You're not allowed to pause for that long. I'll tell you where we're up to. Purim has wiped people's memories. I hear that. Okay, I'll tell you where we're up to. So we had, in our grand philosophical voyage, we are up to reasons for mitzvahs, and we discussed the general reasons for mitzvahs and can we give reasons for mitzvahs. We're now up to the next installment, which is looking at individual mitzvahs and ascribing reasons to them. Well, not making them up ourselves, but looking at reasons that have been ascribed to them and seeing how that works. So today is our first mitzvah of the lot. And if I can show you not my private emails, but the actual sheet, I didn't stop Hillary Clinton, and that is, and we're looking at Shabbos as our first one. Yeah? If I can get to the right one. Dun, dun, dun. Shabbos, here we are. Okay, good. Remarkably, it's nearly Shabbos again. Purim was a bit of a midweek breather. But let's look at reasons for Shabbos. So, actually, let me take it up over here. It's just blank. If I had to ask the esteemed audience and panel, de facto panel, newly appointed panel, what would be the reasons for Shabbos? I don't mean he took you out of Egypt, he created the world, that kind of thing. I mean, what was the goal? Why would Hashem have said Shabbos? What are we gaining from it?
You're saying you don't want an answer that says like commemorate the fact that God rested when He created the world. You're saying not like that. You want a different way
I
of
don't want
putting it.
us. I don't. Yeah, I don't want just to be reciting verses. Basically, don't go biblical on me.
Okay. Um, so I would say it's a chance to stop the kind of what do they call it? The spinning wheel with the rat
That
race type
race.
of
Oh,
thing
very good. So
going through.
Jonathan Levers chimed in with the same. A break from the working week.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, good.
yes. A chance to kind of pause from creative activities and to appreciate Hashem's creation.
Good. Okay, now, yeah, I mean, a break from work is lost on a rabbi when we talk about Shabbos, obviously. But, one of the world's ironies. Um, but yes, in that respect, it would be more important than ever. As I mused once, when they used to ask people, what field do you work in? It was a literal question, because you're either in the poppy seed field or that, for whatever it was. And now it's clearly talking about which industry you work for. But we are busier than ever, right? We are busier than ever. And just as we thought we couldn't get busier, they invented contraptions that make us even busy when we're not really busy. So, yes, a break from the working week. Good. Nice. What else? Excuse me, sorry. What else do we have before I just scroll down my screen and start?
Um,
Yeah. Go
I
on.
suppose I was thinking along the lines of a chance to the fact you're doing this kind of sanctifies the week. It makes a difference between Shabbos and not Shabbos.
Oh, interesting. In other words, right, I hear that. In other words, what you do, it's not a one-day wonder. In other words, it's not a you do Shabbos, then you're back. It's something that we're supposed to take with us somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a different day than the rest of the week. You can feel it. I mean, once you're sensitized to it, then you can certainly feel it.
Good. Okay, good. And Jonathan added to separate us from the other nations. That could be true as well. So it's interesting. In the Torah itself, you've got various different themes that all seem to be somehow meshed into what Shabbos is. I have to really discuss how they come to go together. But for example, you've got the notion of bracha. Vayvarech, Hashem blesses Shabbos, right? Shabbos is the Makar HaBracha, the source of blessing. Say that in Lechadodi. We've also got the notion of Kedusha. By Kadesh also, Hashem ascribes Kedusha to Shabbos. He withholds creation from Shabbos, so to speak, where he created rest. Another theme, Menucha, right? Rest. So we've got blessing, Kedusha, and rest, right? All within, that's not like some esoteric Kabbalistic source in, 15th century Sfat. Those are what's written in the verses themselves, right? Then what's more confusing, you've got a combination of Zecha L'Tzias Mitzrayim, in other words, remembering Exodus, and you've got a Zeichel Bereshis, meaning remembering creation. So you've got at least three concepts, at least two events. Yeah. And then you've got this other thing
Now,
which
why would it be specifically relating to Egypt? I mean, creation we understand because it says, "And Hashem rested and kind of created Shabbat." But
Mhm.
why is there a connection between Shabbat and the Exodus?
Oh, very good. So the Ramban actually deals with this at length. I don't think we've quoted it now. The Ramban deals with this at length, talking about the belief that Hashem can do miracles. And it's when you're handing back the keys to Hashem, then it's the fact that Hashem has chosen us and can do miracles, which is what Exodus is about. And its purpose of. But you're right. The Ramban's question effectively is, what are you reenacting? If you're not working on Shabbos, people can say, oh, look, that's because God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. Right? If you don't do work on Shabbos, no one is going to say, hey, see, Jewish people left Egypt. But that's the Ramban's question. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so let's look at some of the sources over here. The first is the Gemara in Shabbos Yud on the base. Beautiful Gemara, and it's reflected in our davening as well, which says as follows. Aleph Lamed stands for Amalei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem said to Moshe, Matana Tova, I've got a good present. Yeshli, I have the base Ganazai in my storehouse, my treasure house, the Shabbos Shema. And the name of that present is Shabbos. Okay, nice, good present. Hashem says I got a good present. That's a good present because he doesn't need to be a salesman. You know what I mean? Meaning he's not, he's not kind of when sometimes your kids, which I remember kids when you're a bit younger, your kids asked you for something and you either didn't want to buy or couldn't afford, and you basically convinced them that this piece of relative trash is like the best present ever that you've got them. You know what I mean? Or the equivalent of when you pretend, not that any self-respecting parent would, of course, but when you pretend that you have got them some new clothes, was really it's some hand-me-down or something that someone else has brought over. Do you know what I mean? No, and neither do I. Anyway, so when Hashem says, I've got a good present, it means it's a good present. It's not just a good present, it's a present from Hashem's own storehouse. Yeah, which that's prime real estate there. Yeah. So the Shabbos Shema, and the day is called Shabbos, and I'm seeking to give it to the Jewish people. Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's interesting. I mean, like, why are we singling out Shabbat as being a gift or something that's good when surely a lot of what we've been covering up until now is that everything that Hashem's given us is for our good. So why are we singling that?
That's in general, whatever Hashem gives us is for good. Every mitzvah is for our good, 100%. This is called a good present. Not because the others are bad presents, right? Not because the others are there to trip us up or lead us down the wrong spiritual garden path. But this is a real gift. This is something beyond. This is something, if you like, there's an extra degree of either closeness when someone gives a gift. There's a degree of exclusivity. There's a degree of I'm giving you something beyond what you, I guess, deserve in a certain way. Like, all of that is crystallizing to Shabbos. Yeah. So Hashem's taken out of his storehouse and he's given it to the Jewish people. Right. The rest of this Gemara talks about and tells Moshe, go and tell them about it. Anyway, that is the Gemara in Shabbos. A couple of centuries or a few centuries later, one of the early commentaries, the Kuzari, who I recommended reading in the past, he says as follows. He says, Va'amar, and it says with regards to the seventh day in Mashri, Vayishbos, Vayvarech, Vayikadesh. So remember those 2-3 words we talked about? He rested, he blessed, and he sanctified. Yeah, why? Ba'avur shenishlimu hamasim ativim, interesting. Because at that point, the physical actions were finished, which had an expiration date, as they were finished in their time. And it wasn't time for those creative acts anymore. Right? And therefore, mankind reached a level of angels that we do not need physical things or physical forces, so to speak, anymore. Right? Meaning, it's a day in which we can be spiritually raised above the normalities and the natures of the physical world. Nice? Good. Okay. And we know, and I've put in this little paragraph over here, that Shabbos is absolutely crucial to Jewish observance, right? That's why we have this phrase, Shomer Shabbos, right? And so we don't have a like Shomer Chanukah. You know what I mean? It doesn't have a, do you know that your neighbor? Is he Shomer Chanukah? There's not that kind of have that same pedestal and that same kind of level, right? And it's not just a nosiness kind of thing. Yeah, in halacha, it's a real category, right? It's a real category, and therefore there's going to be something special about the day. There's going to be something special about what it does and what it gives, and that is what we're going to start exploring, please God, this evening. Okay, so here we go. There's a beautiful medrash, which is quoted time and time again, and I'm going to share it with you. And it says as follows: Tani Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So Reb Shimon ben Yochai taught, Amma Shabbos HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just hands up if you've heard this one before, this medrash. Shabbos came before Hashem, meaning the day of Shabbos complained. See, it's Jewish after all. Ribono shel olam lekulam ben zug. Every single day has a partner. V'li ben zug, but I don't have a partner. It's not fair. Every day is partnered off. I don't have a partner. So Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to the day of Shabbos, don't worry. Excuse me, it's all okay. Knesset Yisrael hi ben zugeich, the Jewish people will be your partner. Yeah, nice, heartwarming. Yeah, it's cute. Now, what does it mean? I mean, ask the Vilna Gaon over here. I don't understand. How can a day have a partner? And if a day can have a partner, how can the day, meaning Shabbos, have a partner with a nation? Like, how does that work? A day is a categorization in time, and nations are, I don't know, categorization in human, whatever, human societal diagnostics, whatever you call it, right? So then
And also, how does it work? Are we saying Sunday pairs with Monday and Tuesday with Wednesday? Like, it was Shabbos, like the last one to get picked and was left out. Like, how does that work?
Exactly. Good. Excellent. So the Vilna Gaon says something beautiful. He says like this. He says it's not that day one is paired with day two, right? As you were saying, and three, then four, and then five and six. It's not. It's one and four go together, two and five go together, and three and six go together. Right? How? So each of those first 3 days, meaning one and two and three, were laying down potential, but they weren't actualized until days four, five, and six, respectively. Now let's see if we can do this together. Yeah, I have slipped up on this in the past. Yeah. So day one was the creation of. I'll start off light and dark. Yeah, Jonathan, are you going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to say the Or Haganuz.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, light and dark. Exactly what the light was and where it was. Okay, but light and dark. Yeah. Actually, there's actually an argument whether darkness itself was created or whether it's just an absence of light, but I'm not going there. But light and dark. Okay. Now, what was created on day four?
I'm going to say sun and moon.
Nice. Very good. On the buzzer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On sun, moon. In other words, that was the actualization of the potential of day one. Now, yes, there might have been more spiritual light created as well, etc. But basically, the sun and the moon are there to express the light and dark created in day one.
But don't we learn that the sun and moon were actually created before day four, and that they were just put in their place in day four?
Yeah. So Rashi writes that that's true of everything, and as everything was effectively created day one, and they were put in their places. But the same would be true in terms of putting their places. Yeah, whichever commentary you want to go with, it's the same concept. In other words, day four saw the actualization, meaning the placement of the actualization, if you like, of day one. Now, day two, what happened?
Was that heavens and earth?
Pardon?
Was that the waters of the heaven or something
Oh,
like
that was
that?
all, yeah, the water split.
The Rakia.
Yeah, exactly. The firmament, the water split. Yeah. Okay. Day five, which is next, what happened?
Was that like creation of fish and things in the sea?
Yeah, the stuff that went into the water. So that's good. You've got your potential day action, right? Day three was finally when you got dry land, right? And day six is when the things that were going on dry land, animals, both two and four-legged, were created. Right? So you've got day one is actualized by day four, day two by day five, and day three by day six. Nice, right? And that's what a partner does. That's what a partner is supposed to do. It's supposed to bring out the latent potential of the other. right? So Shabbos comes along, the Medrash is now much more beautiful, or beautifuler, if those have poor English. Anyway, what's it called? So the Shabbos comes along to Hashem and says, hold on a second, it's not fair. Every day's potential was brought out by its partner, but I've also got loads of potential. Who's going to bring out my potential? To which Hashem says, I've got the perfect partner for you. The Jewish people will be your partner. And as they're going to bring out your latent potential, just like each day was partnered off. Nice, no? Yeah, I think it's a beautiful idea. Anyway, that's the one we're gone. Okay, good. Now, let's look at the Kuzari and that Gemara, but we're going to add to it. Remember, we talked about Shabbos being a gift and the fact that Shabbos is actualized by the Jewish people. So the Ramchal, another one of the deeper commentaries, says as follows. He says, "V'hinei zu matana gedola shenatan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael." Hashem gave us a great gift. Liyot sheratz hashila am kadosh, because He wanted us to be a holy nation. Right, so this is Jonathan's point from before. He didn't give it to any other nation because this level is not fitting for them. Right, so it's interesting that the Gemara says that a non-Jew is not allowed to keep Shabbos. You know this, even if someone's going through the conversion process, by and large, they're not allowed to keep an entire Shabbos. Right, they have to do something. Hence the joke about the guy who, is converting and he's carrying an Eruv, and that one. And the guy says to him, "Well, there's an Eruv here. You're not breaking Shabbos." He says, "Call that an Eruv." Anyway, so be that as it may, that's because Shabbos is for us. It's a gift for us.
There's that I can't remember the details, but there's definitely a famous medrash where when it comes to giving the Torah, Hashem went around to all the different nations and they talked. So were any of the nations there saying no because of Shabbos? Was that one of the things that was? I know you've got murder and stealing and whatever. I don't remember the details of the
question. As far as I know, not, but I can't remember. Good question. Yeah, as far as I know, not. What would the parallel universe have been had anyone have accepted that Torah? That's not for us. Meaning, I don't know.
But it's also interesting if we're saying Shabbat is so central. I think there was something about it's the core of Judaism. You talked about Shomer Shabbos.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't one of the other nations why wasn't that up there? We had stealing, we had murder. Why not Shabbat? Right. It's just interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think because I guess there's a difference between going against someone's nature and something just not being for them. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, it's a fair point. Now that medrash itself, give hours and hours of shiurim on it, and you can ask Rabbi Bazak to later tonight.
I would love to, except he sent the cancellation note, so my football is back on.
Terrible.
It's almost like there's a God in the world.
There you are. Okay, so that's that. He gave it to us, didn't give it to other nations. Okay, that means that there's something about the national Jewish soul that connects to Shabbos. So the Kuzari says an amazing thing, and this is similar to what you spoke about before. It says the soul desires or needs Shabbos after 6 days of activity. Yeah, so he says it very beautifully. He says, "Ad shelo yavar shavua al zeh seder ad shitaka nefesh v'guf." Right. Once you've got a whole week without fixing up the body and soul, right? So I'll tell you what this is. There's sometimes, I haven't taken my car to a car wash for a long, long time. Yeah, but I'm getting to a point where I feel it's necessary. Why? Because sometimes there's such a buildup of dust and dirt and what have you, that there's only so much the in-house sponge can do. Yeah. So he says, the Kuzari says it's a little bit like that. Over the course of the week, we pick up all this kind of little bit of dust and dirt and etc. Right? And the body needs a bit. The body and soul, to be honest, need a bit of a wash. Right? Need a bit of a spiritual reset. Because that's what Shabbos is. A remarkable source, actually. That's what Shabbos is. It's a spiritual reset, and we can only do it. It says Bahamadas Avodas Yom, where you have an entire day in Menuchas Aguf with the body resting. Yeah. Right. And then the body, which I assume means body and whatever, the body is there ready and ready for its future. Then the soul is a bit more activated. I mean, it's just like the body rests. The soul then becomes activated without being ruled or governed by the body and says, hey, there's stuff that I need in this world too. There's stuff that I need. That's why you'll find various mini halachas, I'd call them, about Shabbos compensating for losses during the week. So, for example, they talk about during the week, because you're running around so much, you lose 1/400th of your eyesight, right, your vision. Right? And when you look at the candles just before making Kiddush on Friday night, for those who remember, it restores that vision. Right? And then various other elements of stepping into Shabbos and lacking, besamim for Havdalah, right? We smell besamim at the end. The soul is going, the body's back. So, there are all these various things that talk about the interaction on Shabbos between Shabbos and the weekday, right? In as much as you're putting one aside and entering into a new zone of Shabbos. Yeah. And then he says it's almost like the body resets, the body and soul reset, which is why, and we'll finish with this source, we talk about having an extra soul, or maybe being more in touch with our one soul that we have on Shabbos itself, probably one of the more famous elements of Shabbos. Neshama Yisera Nosen HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'adam Erev Shabbos. Hashem gives us on a Friday an extra neshama, an extra soul. But on Motzei Shabbos, no Nosen Ameno, and on Motzei Shabbos, Hashem takes it from us. With this notion of what we call Neshama Yisera, an extra soul. Interesting, slightly off record because it's not so publicized. The Vilna Gaon says this extra soul is reserved for people who tap into or keep Shabbos. You can feel it more, maybe, he says, entirety. But nevertheless, you've got this extra exposure to your spiritual side, which is true on Shabbos. Okay, so we'll do another couple of elements, please God, next week. That's the beginning of it. Please God, next week we're going to continue. Guess I can wish everyone a good Shabbos. Why not?
Shabbos Shkoyach.